have something deeply personal that you've been hiding from your friends and loved ones? That's the subject of today's video about a gay man who struggled to share his sexuality with his unsupportive family. Hi everybody, I'm Sue Ellen Clayton. Welcome to my channel where we're learning how to read tarot one card at a time. In today's reading, we'll be using a 6-card spread to answer the question, am I a deeply closeted gay man? I will be using the Radiant Rider-Waite Tarot, and there is a link below. This question was posted anonymously online by someone who I will call Patrick. Patrick posted variations of the question numerous times and admitted that he was terrified that if he admitted that he was gay, his parents would disown him. I think this is one of those tarot readings where Patrick already knows the answer and is just seeking confirmation. Personally, I am straight and have never questioned my sexuality. I think when people are asking questions, it is for a reason. For instance, you don't generally ask if you should quit your job if you love where you're working, or if you should get a divorce if you're happily married, or if you should move in with your in-laws if you can't stand them. I think this is the case for Patrick. I wanted to do a tarot reading that would answer Patrick's question, but also give him some concrete advice about what his life could look like moving forward. To do this, we will be using a 6-card coming out to myself spread, even though Patrick did not mention using a spread when he drew his cards. Card number 1 looks at Patrick's current feelings towards his sexuality. Patrick drew the 7 of Wands. Card number 2 looks at what Patrick is resisting or avoiding. Patrick drew the Lovers. Card number 3 looks at the truth of Patrick's heart's desire. Patrick drew Strength reversed. Card number 4 looks at the external pressures or influences that Patrick is experiencing. Patrick drew the Tower. Card number 5 looks at how Patrick can move forward with himself. Patrick drew the Empress. And card number 6 looks at the outcome if Patrick embraces his truth. Patrick drew the 4 of Swords. Let's begin by answering Patrick's question, is he gay? It's very easy to answer a yes-no question in tarot. You count the upright cards, which represent yes, and the reversed cards, which represent no. It can get a bit more complicated if the reversed card is more positive than the upright card, but that's not the case here, and the majority wins. As you can see, 5 of the 6 cards are upright. That is a resounding yes. Now let's look at my first impression of the cards. I feel like we're all over the place here. We have 4 major arcana cards, the Lovers, Strength reversed, the Tower, and the Empress. We have cards that are very peaceful, such as the Empress. We have cards that are very turbulent, such as the 7 of Wands and the Tower. We have 2 suits represented, Wands and Swords, so we're missing Cups and Pentacles. I'm not surprised that we're missing Cups, which represent love, because I think that's clearly what is missing in Patrick's life, both in terms of his love for himself, but also love from his family. Pentacles are about the practical things in life, such as how we earn a living, which is probably not relevant to his question. I think this reading represents what's going on in Patrick's mind, which is all over the place. The disproportionate number of major arcana cards tells me that this is a big deal for Patrick. Let's look at each card individually. Card number 1 looks at Patrick's current feelings towards his sexuality. Patrick drew the 7 of Wands. Wands is a symbol of the penis, so we can tell that this is a big struggle for Patrick. We can see a bunch of wands coming towards him, and he's trying to fight them off. I would interpret this to represent his desire for other men, which is something that he is valiantly trying to fight. This is definitely an internal struggle since he has not yet come out. The desire is so strong that it is overwhelming, but he's trying his very best to fight it off. So far he's succeeded because he's on higher ground, but he's definitely stressed by the experience. He's wearing 2 different shoes. Our feet are about being grounded, which Patrick is not as he's balancing on hilly ground and straddling a river. This makes me believe that there are 2 sides of him, and he acts differently in each situation. That would be the side of Patrick that accepts that he is gay, and the side of him that tries to act more heterosexual. The wands can also represent that Patrick feels he will be judged about his sexuality. He thinks he will be attacked if people know that he is gay. Again, he is fighting off the attacks the best he can, but it's hard to be successful when you have 6 wands against you, even if you're on higher ground. The other thing to notice is that Patrick is completely alone and on the edge of a cliff. There is nobody to support him. I think part of the problem with not going public with his sexuality is that he's had to deal with this all alone. Card number 2 looks at what Patrick is resisting or avoiding. Patrick drew the Lovers. This is definitely a loaded card for Patrick. The Lovers is about important choices that will impact your entire life. We usually consider this to include your choice of a partner, but it can also represent Patrick's choice to live authentically or to try to conform to societal norms, which would include his parents' expectations. The couple is naked, which represents openness, honesty, and acceptance. We can see Patrick staring at the female body. It's almost like he's studying her instead of being attracted to her. I think this shows his struggle. He's trying to play the part of a heterosexual, but it's not working. We see quite a few images between the couple, and I think this demonstrates that Patrick is resisting dealing with his sexuality. Let's start at the top of the card. We see the sun, but it is blocked by the Archangel Raphael. Archangel Raphael is the angel who helps with healing, protection, and journeys. I feel like Patrick's sexual identity issues have literally blocked out the sun in his life. Raphael is there to help Patrick on the journey that he's been avoiding, which is to accept himself. Raphael also has flames on his head, which symbolizes sexual passion. Raphael's red wings signify transformation and are spread out in a blessing, which is considered to be a way to unify the couple. Usually we think of this protection and transformation representing a heterosexual couple, but I think that the image also works for people in the LGBTQ+ community. Behind the couple, we see a red mountain that is a volcano ready to erupt, which I believe is how Patrick feels. This can represent sexual climax. It can also represent obstacles. In both cases, Patrick is resisting accepting himself. In summary, I think that Patrick is choosing not to open up and deal with his sexuality. Card number 3 looks at the truth of Patrick's heart's desire. Patrick drew the Strength reversed. In the upright position, Strength shows a woman who is controlling a wild beast using love, self-control, and inner strength. It is about feminine power that comes from within, not a masculine power that is based on brute force. In the reversed position, Strength signifies that Patrick is insecure, struggling internally, and lacking in self-confidence. It can also refer to someone in Patrick's life who is intimidating, such as his parents. I think that Patrick's heart's desire is to be honest about the fact he is gay, to himself, his family, and the world. But the fact is that he's terrified. Right now, he just doesn't have the courage. Card number 4 looks at the external pressures or influences that Patrick is experiencing. Patrick drew the Tower. In this card, we see a white watchtower that is perched on a mountaintop. It is a stone fortress with no doors and high windows. I think it represents the strong views that Patrick thinks that the world and his family have against homosexuality. It's not like he just has to knock down a picket fence in front of a house to change their minds. He's got to climb a mountain and penetrate thick stone walls to change their opinions. As a result, Patrick has essentially chosen to live in a metaphorical tower. He's hid his personal truth away on a mountaintop and behind thick walls. He's worked hard to fit into the mold of a heterosexual son. I think that he is deeply afraid of how his family and others will react if they discover he is gay. I did a little research about why Patrick might want to stay in the closet. According to an article by Sarah Matthews titled, "Most LGBTQ+ individuals remain in the global closet at great cost to their mental health," it's estimated that these people hide their true sexuality for most people in their lives. Acceptance varies based on geography, religious beliefs, political ideology, education level, and socioeconomic status. The main reason people hide their sexuality is that they are afraid of violence and discrimination. Some of the downsides of concealment are that it causes high levels of individual stress, isolates LGBTQ+ individuals from each other and the broader community, and prevents them from receiving adequate public health attention. I've linked to the article below if you'd like to learn more. It's interesting that Mother Nature has destroyed the tower. The crown on the tower is knocked off, smoke and fire overtake the tower, and the people inside have no choice but to get out of there if they want to survive. This tells me that Patrick will ultimately decide to share his sexuality. The news will be traumatic to all concerned, but the truth will be revealed. This is also confirmed by the fact that the tower looks like a phallic symbol. The tilted crown and flames coming out of the tower can also represent sexual orgasm. On the upside, even though Patrick is very afraid, the Tower card represents changes that will ultimately free him and transform his life. The sky was black until lightning struck. The thunderbolt illuminated the darkness, and what was hidden is now visible. People will know who Patrick really is. In summary, there have been strong external pressures from his family and likely from society for Patrick to not reveal that he is gay. Regardless, the news is revealed, and short-term, it does destroy his carefully constructed world. You've made it this far in the video, and I wanted to stop and ask for a favor if you're not already a subscriber, and that is to please hit the subscribe button. It's free for you, and it will also help me to grow this channel. Plus, it means that you won't miss anything. Thanks so much, and if you're already a subscriber, I truly appreciate your ongoing support. Now let's get back to the video. Card number 5 looks at how Patrick can be more honest with himself, and Patrick drew the Empress. The Empress is a card about mothering, nurturing, and caretaking. She's sitting on a comfortable throne surrounded by the abundance of nature. Her crown is a laurel wreath that represents peace and success. Her robe is covered in pomegranates that represent fertility and abundance. The yellow background is a symbol of consciousness and awareness. It's also the color of the solar plexus chakra and represents personal power and self-confidence. There are a lot of lessons that Patrick can take from the Empress. First of all, she's the ultimate mother of the deck. This will be significant if his family disowns him. Patrick will need to learn how to love and nurture himself. He also needs to summon the power within himself and not look to his family for validation. The Empress also connects with her true self. She accepts her emotions and listens to her intuition. She is unapologetic for the fact that she's made her throne into a comfortable couch, as opposed to her tarot colleagues who are sitting on austere stone thrones. This is what Patrick must do if he acknowledges he is gay. Instead of judging himself harshly, he needs to embrace who he truly is and do everything he can to make his life comfortable. Patrick also needs to connect with nature and experience the abundance of the world. Rather than staying in a cold stone tower, he needs to put some soft cushions on the chairs and enjoy the natural world. The Empress symbolizes fertility, marriage, motherhood, and the joys of experiencing your senses. I think this is a message to Patrick that he can experience a full life as a gay man in terms of a partner and children if that's what he desires. It might also mean that eventually he will reconcile with his parents and be welcomed back into his family of origin. Card number 6 looks at the outcome if Patrick embraces his truth. Patrick drew the 4 of Swords. One of the meanings of this card is somebody who is ostracized. I think that fits for Patrick. He was pretty sure that if he revealed that he was gay, his family would disown him. He will have to accept being separated from his family. The 4 of Swords tells me that Patrick will eventually find peace, but it will be a difficult process. If Patrick chooses to reveal that he is gay, he will need time to rest and recover in a place where he can be alone. This isn't the kind of rest that you need after a minor incident in your life. This card is about deep rest. The knight would be located in a tomb, which were often built in caves or underground. They had thick stone walls to keep the spirits from escaping. This is significant because the knight has chosen to rest where it would be very quiet and also away from the rest of the world. This indicates that Patrick would need to find a quiet place where he could heal. The stained glass window shows a religious figure helping a child or a follower. Some people believe this to be Jesus or to represent the knight's spiritual belief. We see the word Pax in the halo, which is Latin for peace. I think it's very important for Patrick to connect with spirit during his healing process, and this will bring Patrick peace. First, let's talk about the significance of the 3 swords above him. The fact that they are mounted on the wall shows that Patrick still has worries hanging over his head. Remember that swords represent thoughts. If you've ever tried meditating, which is something I have done many, many times, you know that your mind doesn't clear itself. At least mine doesn't. All of your worries don't magically disappear. They keep showing up and interfering with your state of restful bliss. So I believe this card also represents the challenges of trying to rest. Note that the knight is wearing his armor. In the image on the card, he is likely exhausted from battle. He has no helmet, so there's no way to protect himself from his thoughts. I think this is very true for Patrick. He's emotionally exhausted from struggling with his sexuality and worrying about his family's reaction to the news. I believe the 3 swords are also a reminder of the pain in the previous card, which is the 3 of swords. It's like the swords have been removed from his heart, so we know that he will survive, but the wound has not gone away. Pam Richards, in her book Understanding Tarot, believes that the swords indicate that Patrick has experienced trauma. She writes that the sword on the right demonstrates that his thoughts are affected, and because the sword lines up with his eyes, indicates that he has witnessed a painful truth. The middle sword hangs over his heart, which shows he has painful emotions. The sword on the left, which is over his solar plexus chakra, shows him to be feeling insecure and off balance. This would all require some deep healing. Rachel Pollack, in her book Tarot Wisdom, Spiritual Teaching and Deeper Meanings, believes that the purpose of the swords is to heal Patrick by activating 3 chakras. The far right sword is pointing to his 3rd eye, which is the psychic or intuitive opening. The middle sword is pointing to his throat chakra, which is all about communication. And the sword on the left is pointing to his solar plexus and activating deep knowledge. I like this explanation because it shows how the healing is happening. The gold sarcophagus and gold knight represent enlightenment. The sword below Patrick shows that his battle isn't completely over. Even though he's now in a state of rest, he will eventually have to go back into the world and deal with challenges. Overall, I think that if Patrick tells his family that he is gay, it will benefit him in the long term, and he will experience deep healing. There are still battles to be fought, and at least in the short term, he will be ostracized from his family. So let's summarize. We began by answering Patrick's question, is he gay, by counting the number of upright and reversed cards. 5 of the 6 cards were upright, so the answer was a resounding yes. In card number 1, the 7 of Wands, we looked at Patrick's current feelings towards his sexuality. It was clear that this was a big struggle, both internally and within his family, and he also felt very much alone. Card number 2, the Lovers, looked at what Patrick was resisting or avoiding. Patrick was not being honest about his sexual identity. Card number 3, Strength Reversed, looked at the truth of Patrick's heart's desire. Patrick wanted to be honest about the fact that he is gay to himself, his family, and the world. Unfortunately, he was also terrified and didn't have the courage. Card number 4, the Tower, looked at the external pressures or influences that Patrick was experiencing. These pressures came from his family and likely society. Regardless, the news was revealed, and in the short term, it destroyed his carefully constructed world. Card number 5, the Empress, looked at how Patrick could be more honest with himself. Patrick needed to trust his intuition and learn how to accept, love, and nurture himself. He needed to realize that he can create his own family with a partner and children if that's what he desires. Card number 6, the Four of Swords, looks at the outcome if Patrick embraces his truth. I think he will be ostracized by his family and has to accept that. He needs to spend time in solitude and work on his healing, which will come. Unfortunately, there are still battles ahead, but he will be able to create a new life for himself. I hope that this video gave you some ideas that you can apply to your tarot practice. Please leave a comment if you'd like to share what you've learned. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.